Hello, and welcome back to Honorable Mentions. I'm Emily Barker,
And I'm Cameron Deschanel.
and it's midterms time. So, in order to, how do I say it, evade the stress of our lives right now, we're going to just talk about something really casual.
Yeah, we'll do a little media review and just kind of talk about stuff that isn't school related because, during midterm week, you got enough of that. You get enough. It's good. We're solid on it. So,
no school stuff.
yeah. To kick it off, actually, there's a book that I've been meaning to tell people about that I think I mentioned it to you once. So it's called Neuromancer. For anybody that doesn't know what either neuro or mancer would entail, basically, if you've ever seen anything like cyberpunk, which is like dystopian future and the government's corrupted and there's usually like a lot of Japanese influence on it. You might have even seen Cyberpunk Edge Runners. That was a show that just came out on Netflix. Phenomenal, by the way. Highly recommend. Basically, that all stems from this book, Neuromancer, which is the real first like cyberpunk book. Now, there's some stuff that predates it, but this is the one where it's really setting the tone for all future stuff. So I decided, hey, I'm going to go back and give that like a little look real quick, read it for a bit. It's a quick read. It's fun. There's a lot of stuff where you're like, wow, that's where that comes from, right? The whole like, what if we put computers in people's brains and like the phone calls happen or like that's all, you know what I mean? Like it stems from that, which I think is fun. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a really interesting book.
Yeah. You reading anything interesting?
Well, not as much recently because I'm overloaded with school reading. However, for a class recently, I'm in a medieval lit class this semester, and we recently read Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. And then
Gawain.
This is a debate we have about how his name should be pronounced. So let's hope no medievalists are watching this.
I don't care if they are. I'm correct. Invite me. Bring your PhDs. Anyway, continue.
Yes, so we recently read that in this class, and then the professor for that class decided to do co-curricular activities in addition to, instead of being in class 3 days a week, one day of the week, specifically Fridays, we might do co-curricular activities instead. So we recently went to a medieval festival, which is sort of like the Ren Fair at the Cloisters, which is the medieval art museum in New York City. They, I believe, took a castle apart brick by brick and sent it over and then rebuilt it brick by brick here in New York.
It's crazy.
Yes. And the medieval festival was actually really fun. I'm not somebody who goes to the big Ren Fair at Tuxedo, Sterling Forest. But this was nice because it's basically a lot of the people who do the Sterling Forest Tuxedo Fair on their way down south stop by the Cloisters and do this one day little event. It was nice. But anyway, so the co-curricular activity for the week of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight was the professor for that class, who did not particularly enjoy the Green Knight movie with Dev Patel that came out in 2021, debated another professor in the English department who did enjoy the film. And it was quite interesting to see the two go head to head. That's always entertaining to me, to see two very intelligent, learned people duking it out. But the movie itself was strange. We were talking about this, Cam, about how strange the movie was.
It just doesn't capture a lot of what makes Sir Gawain and the Green Knight an actual fun read, because I think it was so stressed for padding, because it's a short story. You could tell it in like 30 minutes max.
Not to mention, a lot of the story is Sir Gawain is lost in the woods and is praying, and
like it's not the most interesting stuff in the world that you have to really work. Then he gets into
a bet with the lord whose house he's staying at, and it's the same thing basically every day. So there's a lot of it's a very repetitive text.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that they had to change some things in order to make it an entertaining feature film, but it might have changed just a bit too much.
Yeah.
The original text, I think, had more joyful themes in it because it's a Christmas story. It takes place at Christmas. And even though, yes, there's an entire game of you chop off my head, I'm gonna chop off your head. It's still, there's still some joy, there's still some fun. Whereas the Green Knight movie, at least for me, kind of seemed leached of any joy.
You know what? It had a very dark tone. The themes in it, I would say that they're at least like mildly similar, but they kind of, I'm trying to think of like the correct word here because I don't want to like continue to say like, oh, it's getting darker, but they have somewhat of a spin to it, right? So in the books, one of the major themes is games, because that's the first time you talk about like the Christmas and the party. In the book, they're like, and everybody's playing games. I think they explain like one or two real quick, and they have like no real relevance to the plot other than to show the jovial nature of like what a game should be. And of course, the dark twist that, hey, we're going to play a head cutting game. That's where like the darkness comes from. But off the bat, this movie is like, and it's depressing. And you're either going to kill me or I'm going to kill you. But in 1 year's time, which makes it feel stupid too, right? In the book, you kind of like, oh, it was a nice, funny bet. He pulled a fast one on him. And this, it just feels like, I don't know, we should just kill him now, I guess. Like if we're gonna do this.
Not to mention, I don't want to spoil the ending of the movie, but I do want to say that, at least for me, it removed one critical part of the ending of the original text that I think makes the entire story of the movie fall apart.
Yeah, it removes the point of it. It's essentially like if they'd cut off like Avengers Endgame, right? So like, wow, so we could travel back in time. Yes. Credit. That's it. And you just have to assume. By the way, because I know people are always like concerned with spoilers, but usually people are like, oh, if it's been out for a while, safe to talk about. When did Sir Gawain and the Green Knight come out?
Well, the original text is obviously the
text
medieval text.
Yeah.
The movie came out in 2021.
Okay, so that's actually a little closer than I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody's gonna like it's, there's something you said that I think rings true. It's more of an art film, right? You're just gonna go to see, because it does have it. I'll give it to it. It has nice camera work. It has fantastic sequences. Lighting's beautiful. From a movie making perspective, it's nice. Story, character, plot, terrible, right? Not good at all. Pacing, like, no. But like, yeah, again, there's really nice camera angles, and at least there's a beautiful when he jumps into like the lake, and it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It looks pretty, but that's it.
And then the entrance of the Green Knight as well, I think was another particularly interesting scene.
It's well shot. So, I mean, at least like you can watch it for that, but you could literally also just read the text, and it's like an hour max. It's an hour max. So, yeah, I mean, it's maybe like a little bit. What was it, like 200 pages? Not even.
Oh, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight? I think it was 60 pages.
Really?
Yeah.
Because then I have like the notes on the other side too. At least mine did, maybe. I was like, I remember being at least like, that's, huh. Or maybe it was like extra.
Yeah, the edition I read, I think, was a bit over 60 pages. So yeah, it's not a long read. But actually, because you brought up Marvel, opinions on the latest Marvel show, which as of this moment is She-Hulk, which is quite controversial online.
I think it just ended. I have not watched the ending. That came out yesterday. So maybe the ending's fantastic. Maybe it's terrible. Maybe it'll shift my perspective. But for right now, it's just another Marvel show, right? It is not egregiously bad. It is not fantastic. If anything, I'd accuse it of being like just mid. Like this problem is just like, I get it. Like there are parts I enjoy. I think people really do kind of overhate it. If I could give like my 2 cents on what I think is happening, there's a phrase I just learned where it's audiences can tell when something's wrong in a movie, but they can't always tell what. If the lighting is bad, they may come out of the movie and say, wow, the sound design was terrible, right? They don't know what was actually bad, but they know there was something there. I think that's what's happening here. She-Hulk is a strong character, in all honesty. She's well characterized. She goes through like trouble and tribulation, but the drama is not underscored very well with either action or sound. And so the very small moments of her having to come to terms with, no, I do want the name She-Hulk, or hey, this is part of my life, or you know what, I don't have to try to like settle down for this terrible guy, aren't too well choreographed, but they're there though. So to call her a weak character, I think is wrong. And how about you? What's your take on it?
I will say, again, the content of the show, I think, is exactly what you say. There are some parts of it that I think are laugh out loud funny.
Mhm.
And then there are other parts that are just, it's not quite working, but I can't quite put my finger on what. But I will say, at least for me, it is the second of these Disney Plus shows that I would consider a true TV show. Marvel understanding how TV is a different medium than movies. Because a lot of the shows so far have felt like it's one movie stretched out and chopped up into 6 episodes, or even 2 separate movies that were just kind of amalgamated together into one season.
You're right.
She-Hulk feels like a law comedy that just happens to have superhero elements.
And I think you're correct. That is actually a really good way to put it. I will say my favorite, but I forgot about this until you're like, there's some parts that made me laugh. I was like, were there parts that made me laugh? I was like, yes. Madison. Was it 2 N's and a Y, but it's not where you think? Is that what it is?
Yep. 2 D's, 2 N's, 1 Y, but it's not where you think.
That is so funny. I'm not kidding, I'd watch 10 episodes of just Madison. Like
and
that's
Wong.
And Wong, yes, Wongers. Which I think is hilarious. So you're right, the movie, I mean see, I even wanted to call it a movie. No, yeah, the TV show She-Hulk does have some good moments, which is again what I think that it's like there are solid moments in here, and there are also moments that are inoffensive that people are like outraged about, right? Anything with Megan Thee Stallion. I know somebody who said it was basically just it's like a commercial for Megan Thee Stallion. I was like, dude, it's like a 30-40 minute show, right? I was like, she's in it for I think like 5 minutes. I was like, it is not. That's the worst commercial ever made then for Megan. So again, people are just, I guess that's what they do, right? You have a toxic fan base already that hates everything about its own culture. It's like Star Wars now, where everything is hated until 10 years later. You have to wait a 10-year period, and people are like, you know what? I really like that actually. No, you didn't, Josh. You hated it because it was different, and then you got more of the same for 80 years, and you're like, whatever happened to the good shows like She-Hulk, and then you also have a very male-dominated audience, right? And so there's, whether they want to admit it or not, prejudice gets mixed in, and that might be the loud minority, but it's still there,
Yeah. I don't know. I'm now having a sneaky suspicion this is going to be the episode that blows up, and we're going to get a lot of comments.
Dude, I mean, it's the truth though, and if you can be like, hey, I hate it for this and this reason, I'm like, that's fantastic, man. I didn't mean you then. But if you're really angry about it, then it's like, well, maybe there's a little underlying thing there, right? So yeah, I think that at the end of the day, She-Hulk is just like a run-of-the-mill show. Like I don't see why people would get so upset about it, because I think it's just like, yeah, it's there, dude. Again, there are moments that are fantastic. I really like. And then there's just other moments where I'm like, yeah, it's whatever. Yeah, like I think again, I like Jen as a character. I think she'd work better with maybe a stronger supporting cast more of the time. But it is what it is, and so looking forward to the rest of it. You know what I mean? Final. And
at least we're finally at the end of the cursed phase 4.
Phase 4 is not. It's just the current phase that isn't dealing with that, right? Like there's, it's not the best thing in the world, but you had Shang-Chi, you had Spider-Man, right? Werewolf by Night was good. It's not fantastic. Everybody who's giving it a 10 out of 10 is out of their mind, by the way.
Unpopular opinion, WandaVision.
WandaVision's good. Like it's fine. Was that Phase 4 really?
Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
first
I guess you're
project,
right,
I
you're
believe,
right.
of
Yeah.
Phase 4.
WandaVision's fine. WandaVision. What were the others? I know there's at least one other movie that I was like, oh yeah, that was good. That was fine. But yeah, no, there's good stuff in Phase 4. People are acting like Phase 1 through 3. Phase 1, I think, had like Thor 1 and 2, which were terrible. Iron Man 2 was terrible. Iron Man 1 was just like good, it catapulted us for sure. But Captain America 1 is not the best. Winter Soldier is when the MCU gets good. All right.
Which I
That's when they
believe was
figured
in
it out.
Phase 2.
Yeah, that's when they figured it out. There are phases like this is not the first time it's happened, right? So yeah. Anyway, that is my take on Marvel.
And with that, I think we shall end this episode. As always, if you're interested in joining us or featuring on an episode, please reach out to either Cam or me.
Yeah.
And as always, everyone, onwards and upwards. See you soon.